Hello, we are the SpaceX fans and welcome to the SpaceX Show, the place where you can stay up to date with everything SpaceX. Today we have a handful of standard SpaceX updates to take a look at. As always, we then have Boca Chica updates, a bunch of Starship related tweets and updates, plus SN8 testing and other builds going on. Let's head straight in and get up to date. After launching the Starlink 12 payload with the 13th batch of Starlink satellites, B1058 returned to Port Canaveral. The booster first launched carrying Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley for the Demo 2 mission and will now be prepared for its 4th flight. I forgot to mention it in the last video, but SpaceX caught one of the fairing halves and had to abort the catch of the other. Greg Scott tweeted some shots of the fairings after they returned and said SpaceX Starlink 13 fairings head back into the hangar for recycling. Both fairings appear to be in very good condition, meaning we will most likely see them again on another mission. Turns out that the Crew 1 mission that was originally meant to launch on Halloween has now been delayed. NASA said they would be targeting no sooner than early to mid-November, providing additional time for SpaceX to complete hardware testing and data reviews as the company evaluates off-nominal behaviour of Falcon 9 first-stage engine gas generators. Space News have posted an article which says the US military command that oversees logistics operations has signed an agreement with SpaceX and X-Arc to study the use of space launch vehicles to transport supplies in an emergency. Exalaunch signed an agreement to secure rides for dozens of small satellites on SpaceX Rideshare missions scheduled to launch later this year and in 2021. They plan to integrate 30 US and European CubeSats and microsats on Falcon 9 rideshare flights to sun-synchronous orbit for the rideshare flight in December. I mentioned it in the last video, but SpaceX tweeted Starman last seen leaving Earth made its first close approach with Mars today, within 0.05 astronomical units or under 5 million miles of the red planet. There's a Native American tribe that was recently given Starlink terminals to be able to use the internet. They tweeted saying, "What a difference high-speed internet can make. Our children can participate in remote learning, residents can access healthcare. We felt like we'd been paddling upriver with a spoon on this. SpaceX Starlink made it happen overnight." Heading over to Boca Chica, there's some interesting work going on with Starhopper. Engineers have been adding stuff to the legs. In the production area, some machines were spotted outside that are apparently mobile self-cleaning fume fans. Just behind these, some crates were seen which say forward nozzle jacket. Spotted being moved were some unknown components. These have a label on them saying aft only. Further unknown pieces were captured on a trailer in the yard. A while back, when the high bay didn't exist, this crane dubbed Bluezilla was constructed to help build it. It's now in the process of being deconstructed. Another crane that recently arrived and has been dubbed Tankzilla is still being worked on. Then there's the high bay, which will be used while Super Heavy gets stacked. It's almost complete with a lot of work on the roof, and we are now just weeks away from its completion. I believe this is over by the new restaurant area, but you can see engineers are working on some sort of a wall. Taking a look at some tweets, somebody tweeted an infographic with info about existing and future rockets' cost per kilogram to space. Musk responded and said, marginal cost of Starship mass to orbit should be well under $100 per kilogram. Fully burdened cost depends on flight rate. Somebody created an animation of Starship Super Heavy launching and asked how accurate the flame diverter was. Musk responded with, aspiring to have no flame diverter in Boca, but this could turn out to be a mistake. Brendan Lewis posted his latest diagram of Super Heavy and asked Elon Musk when we could expect it to start stacking. He responded to say high bay should be finished except for the giant gantry crane within a few weeks. Super Heavy stacking should begin around then. RGV Aerial Photography posted a shot of the nose cones and asked which would be for SN8. Musk said, "I'm proud to say that nose is pointier than it needs to be." Somebody tweeted about Mars's closest proximity for the next 15 years and asked, is the target 2035 due to the next proximity, or have you a more ambitious target in mind? Musk responded with, much sooner. Elon Musk was asked, are you still considering transpiration cooling for the most vulnerable hotspots, or are the heat shield tiles tough enough? He said it might be used in some areas. ITAR laws prevent us from being too specific about solutions. Neopork posted a render of the heat shield tiles and asked about the attachment method. Musk said our tiles are mechanically attached. After having been sitting outside for quite a while now, a bunch of the nose cones appear to have just been pathfinders. SpaceX are currently in the process of scrapping the noses, so we can probably expect more soon. Last episode we saw that SN8 had performed its first cryogenic pressure test. When asked about the result of the test, Elon Musk said cryo pressure test succeeded, but a small leak opened up near the engine mounts, possibly due to differential shrinking. After the testing, he was also asked what pressure the tank reached. Musk responded with 7 bar absolute, which is fine for flight. This was a proof test rather than a burst test. We'll hopefully fix the leak today and retest. After the first test with just a small leak and thankfully no pop, they went on to perform a second cryo test on Thursday. At some point, engineers were seen inspecting the inside of the SN8 tank. After a seemingly successful second cryo test, the tank farm was seen venting and some new liquid nitrogen was delivered as they got ready for another test. Then once again, SpaceX geared up and performed another cryogenic test of SN8, which in the not too distant future will fly to 15 kilometers. After completing this third validation test of the SN8 build, Musk responded to the NASA spaceflight stream and said that it passed the cryo proof. I really want this thing to fly, but first, SpaceX needs to do more testing, but with Raptors this time. As a result, they've removed the thrust simulator, which simulates the amount of thrust exerted on the bottom of the tank. After having removed the rams from beneath the vehicle, they are continuing to work underneath in preparation for the Raptor arrivals. I don't imagine it will be too long at all before the engines get attached. Recently, there's been further work with the SN11 tank as the sections for it continue to progress. The thrust section we saw sleeved was prepared for the flip. After being rotated into the correct orientation, this barrel section was then moved elsewhere in the yard. I also want to add this piece. Right here, what you are seeing is the very first piece of the SN14 Starship prototype. There may already be pieces for SN13 that have been missed, but it's crazy to already see a downcomer for SN14. Amongst the builds currently being worked on, we have the first Super Heavy booster. Here you can see another section for the liquid oxygen tank with a label Lock Stack 2 booster. We are getting very close to having seen all of the ring stacks for this booster. Here we have the latest build diagram from Brendan Lewis, and it's so cool to see this machine start coming together. Of course, an enormous thank you to Mary, known as Boca Chica Girl, for her sleepless nights and dedication to filming this for us fans. Also, an enormous thank you has to go to the rest of the NASA spaceflight team, who all do amazing work behind the scenes with their space coverage. That's it for this episode of the SpaceX Show. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to hit the like button and leave a comment down below. If you want to stay updated with SpaceX info, make sure to subscribe and press the bell icon to get notified when I upload. Thanks for watching and have a great day.